everyone, everybody. My name is Courtney Robinson, and I'm with Square. Thanks. Woo, go Square. So we want to thank you so much for coming out here and giving us the opportunity to talk with you about small business growth and development. So earlier this year, Square started a national campaign about how our ecosystem of products help entrepreneurs start, run, and grow their businesses. And given all of the incredible entrepreneurs we have out here in Atlanta, we've taken that campaign a step further here. So I don't know if you've seen our murals by local Atlanta artists in Pont City Market or Old Fourth Ward in Midtown, or in local events like the Atlanta Margarita and Taco Festival, which apparently I missed, that sounds fantastic, and the Decatur Arts Festival. So in addition to that, over the past few weeks, we've been hosting a series of events called Self-Made to help educate small business owners about everything from payroll to payments. Has anybody in here done the self-made small business? Yes, self-made crew. Okay, great. We'll be in Atlanta for a few more weeks and are hosting an event called Night School. And these will be a series of in-depth classes that will be about brand building, marketing, and hiring that are taught by local entrepreneurs. So it's not just what you would think of. The typical education is going to be very in-depth, think like master classes, practical things to help you with your business. So if you'd like to go, we have a promo code. It's Killer Mike, all lowercase, one word, and you will get a discount for complimentary tickets for Night School. So Killer Mike, all lowercase, one word. So tonight's event is an extra special part of the series. We'll be hosting Q&A after this chat. I know some of you guys got this email address, but please email square1events@squareup.com with your questions so we can field them for Q&A after. That's square1events, SQUAREONEEVENTS, @squareup.com, SQUAREUP.com. So we'll be looking for those to answer questions later. And again, like I said, since this is an extra special night, I hope she's ready because we have an extra special guest here to introduce our two speakers. Please welcome Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms.
Well, wow. I've never seen this room this packed. Good evening. Thank you all for being here. You all are the chosen ones. I understand there were over 1,100, 1,500 people who tried to get in here today, so give yourselves a round of applause for making it in. I'm not going to talk long. I just want to welcome you all and also just to publicly express my gratitude to my brother from another mother, Killer Mike. Killer Mike is from the west side of Atlanta. We actually went to the same elementary school, Collier Heights Elementary School, Douglas High School, few years apart. But what we share is really just a passion for Atlanta and for our communities. And he continues each and every day to pour back into our communities in a very meaningful way. And we're so fortunate that we have another brother in town named Jack Dorsey, who is CEO of Square and Twitter, who shares many of the concerns that we have in this city. How do we make our city equitable? How do we maintain affordability in a growing city? How do we equip our residents for success? And I also found out that we share love of Kendrick Lamar. So I'm sure this is going to be an extraordinary evening. I hope that you all are able to take the information that you receive and the resources you receive and share it 10 times over. Take it back into your communities, share it with your networks, because this is about building one Atlanta. And I'm grateful for partners like Mike and Jack who are helping us do that each and every day. So have a good evening. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Okay, Atlanta, how you doing?
Wow. There's a lot of y'all in this motherfucker.
Okay, should we get right into it?
Yeah.
Okay, so myself personally, and I'm sure a bunch of people in this room have been so inspired by your art, so inspired by your message. But what we want to talk about tonight is your capacity to solve problems and build businesses, and your thoughts on building businesses and entrepreneurship. But we want to start at the very, very bottom and just get to the root causes and talk about, first and foremost, like what motivates you, what drives you every single day?
I was just never good at working regular jobs. Like by the time I was 21, I got fired 23 times. So I understood that although it was necessary to work a job, because I had children too young, something I warned my sons and particularly young people against, I knew that I had to work for myself because I knew that I would never bring to a job what it deserved. You know what I mean? So when I hire people now, I hire people with a passion to work, with a passion to help me push an idea of a brand forward. I don't hire people who necessarily got their own thoughts and dreams outside of what I'm trying to do. So at a barbershop, I'm gonna hire barbers and I'm gonna hire branders and marketers and retail people who are passionate about helping grow within that. I'm not gonna hire an aspiring rapper to work at the AutoZone. So for me, I have to have a business because as an artist, you either have a business or you have a benefactor. And as an artist, to have a benefactor in these days means to have a record company, a boss, and someone that essentially tells you what to do. And my first foray into rap, it didn't turn out well for me. So I said that if I want to continue doing what I love, which is rapping, singing, and dancing for folks, then I need to figure out how to make money outside of rapping. And what I had always loved about this particular part of town and the Black cultural experience was the barbershop. And I wanted to figure out a way to learn to start and own a business, and a barbershop was a very small, very doable thing for me to do because it only required I have a space, it required I met Georgia standards in terms of OSHA standards and safety and things, and it required I hire licensed barbers and I collect booth rent. And that was very cool the first year or two, and then as business expanded, I started to realize I'm not getting as much money as I could be. So I spent the next couple of years trying to figure out what I need to be doing. And thanks to an invite from the Hawks to put a shop in State Farm Arena, we went to a new system which was commissioned, started using cool things like Square, and started to understand what a real business can be. So I started to understand things like commission. I started to understand things like retail. I started to understand that the pulse of every community that I'd been in with people who look like me and people who were cool people look like me, that the cool standards started out of places like the barbershops or juke joints, or in Atlanta, what we call strip clubs. All these, you got, if you love the Migos, you gotta love the Blue Flame. All of these places that were very working class and blue collar started these things that went on to make billions. And I figured if you could be a part of controlling the cool, you could make money. So our flagship store is at 365 Edgewood Avenue, right in the middle of a bar district. It's a barbershop, or really a retail center masquerading as a barbershop. We try to keep a cool vibe. It's Starbucks-like. You can come in, not get a haircut, use our Wi-Fi, use our bathroom. If you sprinkle when you pee, wipe the seat. That's the only rule. And because of that, we now have a profitable business not only in State Farm Arena, but there in another location. And we're in the process of trying to grow to 10 locations in the next 2 years, and then expand to a nationwide ring.
Wow. So for you personally, and as you approach your business, like what are your core principles? Like what are the rules that you put upon yourself to guide your actions and talk to your folks that are building the business with you? Like what's important?
I'm from Atlanta, so I'm fortunate enough to see 4 businesses in particular succeed out of this city. And those businesses are Coca-Cola, Delta, Waffle House, and Chick-fil-A. And Chick-fil-A and Waffle House in particular cater to their customers in a way that's very Southern and radically different from other restaurants. When you go to a Waffle House, you damn near think your auntie works there. Like they speak to you, the food is, as close to real as you can get. It's a real egg, it's sausages, whatever you're eating, and the people make a point of exchange. That had to have happened 50 years ago when they started the restaurant. That mandate had to be set. When you go to Chick-fil-A, I don't care how bad a day you've had, you walk out feeling like a little brighter, not because of the food or the lemonade, but because there's a culture within that company that engages you, and their purpose is to make you feel good. Employees that don't feel good can't make you feel good. So something about the culture of that company, it emanates a goodness, and that's what I wanted for my barbershop experience. I wanted a very old school experience. I wanted you to be able to come in and get a hot towel. If you're a woman, I wanted you to come in and get your eyebrows done by a barber. I wanted the very, very black barbershop experience, but open for everyone. So every race and nationality, every sex is welcome there. But the feel is old school. You get hot towels, you get a proper shave. But it is customer service, customer service, customer service. If a customer hits me via Twitter, and they have, and said there is something I don't like about that shop, be it a missed appointment or I have not been treated, they immediately get told by me, you are having a comped haircut on me, you must return back to my barbershop or I'm gonna troll the shit out of you till you do. And to show you I'm not playing, a young man missed an appointment twice because one of my barbers fell ill. He was very upset. He was an ally in that he was a brother that he's a white man, married to a black woman, supports Black Friday via my Netflix show, and we were one of the businesses that he highlighted, so I really felt terrible that we had dropped the ball as a business. I aggravated the shit out of this man until he came back, and his wife just said he had never had a better haircut, and black women don't let you have an ugly haircut. So she brought him back, and we got him his haircut, and we regained a customer because that's what my customers mean to me. I want you to have a Chick-fil-A-like experience when you come to the swag shop. I want you to, after an hour as a guy, 30 minutes to an hour, to feel invigorated. I know what a good haircut does for you. I feel like Jay-Z right now up here. I just got this fresh line up. I don't have a Billy, but I close on a couple milli, you know?
So this audience has a bunch of small businesses, a bunch of medium-sized businesses, a bunch of people who are just getting started. Yeah. And there's a common question: how important is a business plan versus doing whatever it takes to make it work, to hustle? Like, how do you think about balancing that? And like, how do you get started? And what advice do you have to folks to just get their business started, to grow the business?
Well, you gotta have the balls to jump in the game. So, you know, you gotta have you gotta be brave enough to do it. Bravery with a plan is better. I'm not a planner. So I saw a barbershop on sale on the internet and I bought it. And then I went and told my wife, hey, I bought a barbershop. And she didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. And now my wife is a planner, you know, because her grandmother ran a liquor house. So she was taught how to write stuff down. And she sat down in a very rudimentary way, said, what are we paying for rent? Damn, you're not a good negotiator. You didn't negotiate good enough on that. What do we get with the shop? Yada, yada, yada. And after she did the numbers, we saw, okay, we can make a couple bucks a month. So she was the planner. So if you're not a planner, it's best to be advised by a mentor, by a partner with a planner, because you do need a plan. Even if it's something rudimentary, saying, I know I have to make this mark to pay this in rent a month. I know I have to do this. You know, am I going to be sleeping in the back of my shop, or am I going to be sleeping above it or have a separate space? So you do need, even if it's just a rudimentary plan. But I would say plan. Plan for the first year, especially if you're quitting a job or you're leaving a job. When I did buy the shop, what I did do was I knew I could pay the rent for the first year. You know, I knew I could pay my lights for the first year. I knew I could pay my own rent and lights for the first year. So I made sure that I was covered. I had someone tell me, a small record company owner, pretty successful though, they said, you know, when I paid myself the first, I think, 3 years of his salary, he could have paid himself in the 30s or the 20s. And he chose to pay himself in the 20s and live well under his lifestyle, because had he paid himself in the 30s of thousands, he would have drove himself bankrupt with the stuff that he couldn't have done just by accessing salary. So be prepared to make some sacrifices. I would say make a plan, or partner, or be mentored by, or consult with, or get someone who does plan well and let them help you walk your way through it. And once you have a plan, stick to it as best you can, but be like water. You know, be malleable. If things don't go right, adjust. You know, plan for some things going wrong. And, you know, don't quit. You really have to be tenacious. And most people think tenacious, and they think like in a very fast or spirited kind of way. But tenacity sometimes is just a very slow grind. It's that kid who gets beat up in school who just won't sit down. You're just like, I'm not going to fight him. He's going to get up. We're going to fight all day. We're going to both get in trouble. And you have to be just quietly tenacious. Like, what did I do wrong yesterday that I can correct today? What did I do correct yesterday that I can replicate? What works? Like, one of our barbers throws parties without our permission. And we found out, and you have a decision. I can fire this person, but the parties were successful. And it drew people to our shop as a cultural center beyond just a barbershop. And that helped me sell more T-shirts. And I like selling T-shirts because I don't have to share that money with anybody but my wife. So we just said, well, these are the new rules. It only happens on Fridays. It happens from the time shop closes to an hour and a half to 2 hours after, and these are the rules and parameters, and this is what is extra in your booth rent since you had this bright idea. But instead of getting rid of someone who had a bright idea because my ego said I didn't know about it, I embraced the energy of it, and it's turned into something that helps me sell more t-shirts, you know?
Amazing. Amazing. So you mentioned mentorship.
Yes.
Why is that important? And what does it look like? What does it feel like? And how do you not only receive it, but give it as well?
Yeah, I think, people who, morally good people who wish to see others do well, for some reason they're willing to share information, One of the first times I met you and your posse, they asked me about Square, and I didn't know what in the world was going on. I don't know POS systems. My wife is who's not here, unfortunately. She just got back from Jamaica balling while I was in London cold. She's the person that thinks about all that. So she was the person that took that information that she heard that day and started researching, investigating, and saying, yeah, this is something we should do. But you didn't have to give that information. I know there's profit on the other side because it's your company, but you were free with the information. You were talking to a musician who was stoned at the back of Coachella or whatever festival we were at, you know what I'm saying? But you knew I happened to be in business and it was a small business and you said this may be something. Mentorship doesn't always have a long term. It isn't always the person you meet every Monday like I do with my mentor I talk to. Sometimes it's just the person who's willing to give you the information, who's not charging you $1,000 via the internet to attend their online course that you never get anything from but a notebook you could have bought at the Walmart. Mentorship are those who are willing to share their successes and failures for you to decide what to do with yourself, but they give you the information openly and honestly, and they try to reassure help. And they also give you critiques that are fair and honest critiques. There's a woman I follow on Instagram, AKA Anundrum. And this sister gives the best business and small business advice every day, all day for free. And all you have to do is follow her and not argue with her because she's not trying to win an argument. She's simply putting out thoughts and philosophies that work or don't work so you can use or not use them. And online, quietly, she's become one of my mentors, to the point where I was just like, yo, you got to let me and my wife take you and your husband out because I've received so much information for you that's helped me, and I already pay people to help me. So when seeking a mentor, it's not always about that direct person being a mentor, but seeking the opportunities to receive information because the universe in some small way is mentoring you because you've taken the challenge to go out and do it. And then when a true mentor shows themselves, accept that and be willing to accept the criticisms and critiques and the build-ups and breakdowns that come with that. There's a developer here, an African-American developer who was mentored by Herman Russell, who was one of the largest African-American developers ever in this nation. And he saw me and this skinny kid from my neighborhood in the mayor's transition meeting, and he heard us talking, and he heard about we bought a piece of real estate in an old restaurant, and he said, I better help those guys because they might mess it up, And I don't mean that in a bad way, but he's been a young man and made mistakes. And he wanted to make sure me and my friend T.I. didn't make mistakes. And he came in and said, hey, I'm interested in partnering with you guys on something, and we figured it out. And now not only did we gain a business partner, we gained a mentor in this person that helps us navigate wise business decisions, that helps us understand, even though you're rappers and they pay you a lot of money per show, you don't always have to use your money. There's a thing of leveraging. You guys own enough of this to do this and leverage this. And that was just a world I didn't know anything about. Like today, or yesterday, I texted and congratulated Jay-Z on becoming a billionaire. But bigger than that, I've seen him mentor 10 other millionaires. 10 people, I've seen him literally mentor people that were rap homies over the last 20 years become millionaires. And I know he's received mentorship. And I see that the way people who really have this information are willing to share it once they see you're willing to work hard. So a lot of times I don't think it's about trying to identify and chase and find a mentor. It's about being open to the things that are coming to you, and your mentor and you will somehow find one another. And when you get that, lock onto that. And when you get that, take the advice seriously and try to live up to the level of expectations you're setting for yourself.
Mm. What are the struggles you've been through and the mistakes you've made that you've learned the most from?
Man, mistakes I've made, everything from hiring bad contractors to using too much of my own money to, I've just, in any business where you kind of jump into it, which my personality lends itself to, you don't account for all the risk you're taking. And even when you write a business plan, you don't account for it. But I've had some heartbreaks and disappointments. I've had employees quit on me the day before grand opening. And 6 months after that happens, I'm now a better boss because I understand the rudimentary works of how to make my business work. So I appreciate that person for that, because it made me and my wife step up in a way that we hadn't stepped up before. And because of that, 6 months later, now we're sitting down with potential investors saying, okay, now you have a business you can grow because you're getting things in order in a way that we can see that profit and loss sheet and see that there's profit in it for us. So, there's some heartbreaking times in business. Like I know some of y'all sit at the kitchen table and damn near want to cry. I've cried. Running anything, like I tell people, running a barbershop is almost like running a small record label. Everybody thinks there's a star. Everybody thinks they're most important to the label. And a lot of times you're so busy chasing the artist that you forget that, hey, we got a label here to take care of as well. So I had to learn to take care of my shop. I'll walk in my barbershop and I will clean the bathroom. I'll walk in my barbershop and I will sweep the floor because I have to have a standard for my customers that's unmatched. And that's something I don't think I've met yet. I'm trying desperately to make it and meet it every day. So I just want to encourage people, those small times that hurt, those small and big failures that hurt, there's something to learn in that. And write it down. Write your feelings down. Write your thoughts down so that it doesn't become this secular thing where once a year something happens, that's the worst thing ever. You got to say, nah, last year I couldn't even pay rent by the 5th. This year I'm paying my rent 3 months ahead. I'm paying rent quarterly. And you got to celebrate those little successes and keep yourself going. And if you believe in your product, you really got to push the line on it. You don't have to be obnoxious. You don't have to keep sending the same DM every day, hint, to certain people. But you can just drop your product by the barbershop and I'll check it out. And if I like it, I'll DM you back. And if not, just assume I didn't like it or I was too stupid to know you got a genius product, and say ha-ha later. But don't quit. And if the other thing is cooperation. I didn't understand how important it was to cooperate with other businesses and cross-pollinate an audience until we started doing these things that are like pop-ups at our stores. There are people out there who write books and that write small novels, and they were able to sell and really get their jump off because at our barbershop, my wife would do things like Women's Day, where all women would just come and mob on the shop. They get to shop for things, and the books were some of the things that hopped off the shelves there. As a guy who owned a barbershop, I never thought of doing a Women's Day at a barbershop, but it sure brought a lot of guys out, sold a lot of books, So those are the things that I've just kind of, like water, just flowing and being willing to follow. And the things that work really well, learning how to make them a part of our process and grow it in our culture.
It's striking that every single one of your answers has been full of this concept of gratitude and appreciation.
Yes, I am.
And how important is that to you, and what other personal practices do you try to encourage in yourself that helps you stay mentally strong and confident to continue to build a business, continue to do what you do?
I'd like to say exercise, but I'd be lying. But I am exercising more these days. Shouts out to my man Al and Bear and Joe and everybody that encourages me. But I do say Joe Rogan has a point. When you move your body for 30 minutes an hour a day, your mind is a little clearer. So, after I smoke a joint, I'll walk a couple miles, and it's been helping. So I say that I move around a little. I'm a big guy. Have you ever seen one of my shows? I'm not lying. I say I can move around a little, right? So move around a little. Smile and laugh. Even if you don't fucking feel like smiling and laughing. Your body, your brain, does not have the ability to identify what's a fake laugh and what's a real one. So the same dopamine that gets released in your brain when you laugh for real, when you're watching the funniest comic in the world, gets released when you just laugh. You know how you finish crying and you just so this goddamn, just shit. Well, your body releases good stuff then. So even if you got a fake smile and laugh, do that because it makes your body release good things. My grandmother was an incredibly stern woman and incredibly fierce and mean at times. And she had this 2-word thing, and I just always thought, but you aren't. But she would say, be nice. Just simply be nice. Being nice does not mean being right. It does not mean being powerful. It does not mean being in charge. It means if you are all those things, the experience that you have with someone should be a pleasant one at the end of it. Be nice. Just backstage, I interrupted a young man because he was reaching over my niece who was a toddler. And I told him, say, excuse me. And I wasn't doing that to bully him or to say to him, or invoke any type of ownership over the chair. I was simply trying to say in that moment, and I told him this, you're teaching a 3-year-old to say excuse me, because sometimes she's just a little asshole and she doesn't say excuse me. So the way that we teach her to say excuse me is as an adult to do what? Say excuse me. Be nice, right? Care about your customers for real, more than you care about profit and product. Because if you care for your customers are going to care about your product, therefore increasing your product. So I actually care about my customers. And I hope that they see that in the customer service we show them, and that the way I engage them when my wife is there. And I try to do it on the street simply, where I can. I rode the airplane back from Cincinnati here last night. And, this morning, I think. And there was a young lady on there. She had a toddler with her. She was like, I'm going to be around my toddler. I just want you. I was like, nah, it's fine. I'm tired. I'm probably going to go to sleep. The cutest little boy, green eyes, little ginger-haired boy, his name was William, rode the whole ride. It's only a short ride. It's an hour. Then he started crying. And I just went to my book bag. I had my security guy go to my book bag, and I gave him a pack of Hot Wheels. So when you come to our barbershops and you're a kid, who really wants to go to a barbershop when they're a kid? Like, it's something your mom's making you do. It's super cuts, it's sports clips, it's great clips. You know what I'm saying? It smells funny. You don't want to be at a bar, it smells like alcohol. But you get a free Hot Wheel when you're a kid. So kids are enthused about coming to our shop. I pull them out of the book bag, give it to him. The kid is like, oh my God, I knew you were my black uncle. You're the man. You know what I'm saying? And she was like, where do you get up? And I was like, my wife and I own a barbershop. And I just left the plane. Well, I go to my DMs later, and in my DMs it's like, hey, I rode the plane with you today, and I want you to know that was incredibly kind what you did in giving my son those. He loves them. And I'm like, how in the hell did you know who I was? And she's like, I'm a mom, at-home mom with a 15-month-old. You're on every talk show, Mike. And she said, I wanted you to know that my husband has been to your shop. He's watched the game. He was impressed by the service so much, so he stayed for the whole game. My son loves these toys. And that had nothing to do with me selling my business. It had nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do with me seeing profit on the other side, and everything to do with those 2 words my grandmother Betty taught me. Be nice. Be kind where you can. You know what I mean? So for me, I would like to leave that type of impression. Even though people don't always agree with the politics of the Truitts, right? But Kathy Truitt put a mandate out in my community that helped people in my community, right? Even though people don't always like the politics of sports team owners and things. But I can say that Tony Rexler has put out some things in my community that gave people who had small businesses like Bees Crackling, like Candy's Old Lady Gang, like the Swag Shop, gave us an opportunity to grow up in a business. So for me, I see a lot of good in Atlanta, and I see a lot of goodwill and intention, and I'm looking forward to the people in the audience being the next wave of businesses that grow and explode, which is why you see me going around shouting out businesses I have no financial interest in. I want to see Slutty Vegan grow up and be a hell of a business, yet I don't have, I want to see Local Green blow up, you know what I mean? I want to see my city produce businesses and commerce that will keep this a city where there can be a true working class, a true working middle class, and a true middle class for 100 years to come.
Wow. What is, so you've talked a lot in the past about financial inclusion and this idea of economic empowerment. What does that mean to you, and what are the barriers to it for most people?
The barriers for a lot of people in this room are capital. So, I think that there needs to be some pathways to real capitals, like opportunity zones have to be open to be opportunities for regular working class businesses as well. They can't just be for the people who got all their shit together because they already knew how to take advantage of the rules because they was there when the rules was written. We have to start to specify and set aside particular, almost like a petri dish where we can grow small businesses that have the potential. Like meeting Tony Rexler and getting advised by him to how to sharpen up and present myself to people who are looking to invest was one of the best things to ever happen to me, and unlikely would have happened in any other city but Atlanta. You know, any other city but Atlanta, does a bees crackling come out of Savannah and within 2 years have a restaurant in State Farm Arena. That's a magical thing, and we need to foster that here. This is a city where, much like we can do one-on-one mentorship, we can do business mentorship and grow new businesses that become national, like Coca-Cola, like Delta, like Waffle House, like Chick-fil-A. We have the ability to jump into markets and dominate them, but we're going to need access to real capital. We're going to need a real interest in seeing people of the worker and middle class remain a part of the city, because I believe the best ideas come from poor and working people, right? At some point I read Twitter was an invention because you thought people were lonely or something, or needed to holler at people. And I was like, damn, just what a hell of a connector. And I think about the relationship I built via that platform and the people I've met. It was genius. It was probably thought of when you were dead broke, you know, didn't have a lot. So I think that there needs to be geographically a place where people can live here. You know what I mean? So I think that there's an interest in corporations making sure, because where politics and bureaucracies cannot fix some problems, corporations understanding that they have an interest in making sure the working class and the middle class can be here, I think solve some of those problems. And I'd like to see some of those problems solved. I'd like to see people who work in the city live in the city. You know, and I think that with Atlanta, we have a chance not to become San Francisco, which is a city I love, great marijuana, can't always stay there. You know what I'm saying? Airbnb prices through the roof. You know what I mean? So I'd like to see this as a city where I grew up in a mixed income neighborhood. It was working class, it was poor people, it was rich people, it was all black people, so I got a chance to see all levels of have and have nots. But I'd like to see Atlanta remain a city where a blue-collar kid can go to school with a millionaire's kid at Grady, and both of those kids can go to Morehouse, and both of those kids can go to Emory or UGA, and both of those kids can add here and want to stay here and grow the culture in this city. That's what I'd like to see over. Wow.
So the mayor is here. What is one thing that the city could be doing to support small businesses and creating more businesses in Atlanta? Highest impact.
The highest impact is something the mayor is already doing. She's transforming an old jail into a resource center. And I think what we need to do now is make sure that that old Fulton County jail becomes a resource center where our boys can learn, and boys and girls, but our boys in particular are not going to college. Boys on the west side are not going to college. They can be going to trade school and making great money. So we need electricians, we need carpenters, we need builders. We need that for building houses and building movie sets. We need a place where small businesses can go to learn how to do the paperwork that puts you in business with the city for contracts. I don't care if it's landscaping to airport contracts. We need to be walked through that process and taught. We need a financial literacy center where people who are amongst the working class can learn to become financially literate enough so that they can pass those thoughts on to their children, and we start to grow our own middle class in the city, and we're not always courting from the outside but growing from the inside. So I think that people need to be taught very simple things like agriculture. How do we take a box and teach people how to grow their own onions and tomatoes? Because that way you have a healthier population. Grady does not have the dependency on the emergency room that it once had, and we can start growing doctors instead of growing sick children. I think there's a lot that we can be doing, but we have to start thinking outside of the box and being willing to accept ideas that are non-traditional. We need to look to other cities that are doing non-traditional things successfully, and we need to incorporate those things into the Atlanta way, and we need to make sure that we purposefully become a progressive city. The corporations that come here, we expect minority participation. We expect women to participate. We expect the African American community to participate. So you have an obligation, like Maynard Jackson said 40 years ago, when you come here to make sure you are hiring, putting in places and positions of power, and to be using these small businesses as subcontractors. So if you're a huge construction company and you get the opportunity to build whatever we're building next, the glass company you hire, we want it to come out of Atlanta. You know, and we want it to look like the people who are reflective of here, who have the skill and the trade to do it, who trained at the old Fulton County Jail, so that we can keep our people here and keep growing ideas out of here.
Amazing. Amazing. So one more question before we turn it over to some audience questions we gathered. You mentioned learning a bunch in all of your answers as well. So what has been the most surprising thing that you've learned throughout your journey?
The most surprising thing I've learned, capitalism is not the greatest evil to my community. Apathy and fear are. Black people have thrived in Atlanta for over 100 years. From W.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington having the Atlanta Conference here in 1906, from Auburn and Edgewood Avenue being a thriving hub of the black community on up into the 50s and 60s, from Alonzo Herndon starting the Atlanta Life Insurance Company, from So-So Def, from Babyface and L.A. Reid's venture with LaFace here. We have been, for a very long time, a successful community. And when I say African Americans, I'm not just talking about black people, because the more successful an African American community is, the more successful the greater community becomes, right? 95 years of successful black bank and Citizens Trust Bank here. We are Wakanda for real. And the people who live here and who do business with us are our allies for real. And we should be working like, what's the old saying, the city too busy to hate? Well, you're only too busy to hate when you're making some paper, baby. And we should be doing more of that together. So we should be finding ways to connect and to cross-pollinate with one another. And we should do away with some of the old shit our grandparents had. Who lives North Atlanta, who lives South Atlanta? Who's married to this party, who's married to that party? And we should focus on becoming a more progressive city, not for any political leanings, but honestly for the compassionate capitalism that I see. I think that this city has the capability to be a city of compassionate capitalism. I think that if we can grow successful businesses on the West Side from people who come from the West Side, that we won't have to depend on the city to buy our kids' uniforms. Because you'll have a company that buys our kids' uniforms, and the city can focus on having the parks open and putting lights in the parks. That only happens when we create a successful economic ecosystem ourselves. So I would like to encourage people to participate in capitalism. I would like to encourage people to make way for small businesses and to support small businesses. Because when I say small, local, black, I'm really just saying local. I think that you should be able to have an alternative to big corporations within 10 miles of you. And you should grow those companies into the next wave. And I think we can, I think we will, I think we must.
100%. Amazing. Okay, so we got some questions we collected earlier.
Okay, there we go. So our first question is from Missy, who just got her MBA from Emory. And this is specifically directed at Mike, but I guess you both can answer. So Atlanta is #1 in the country for income inequality. What are ways millennials in business, like Missy, can get involved in the city to help close the economic opportunity gap?
Yeah, I tell people all the time, because sometimes it's used as a critique on Atlanta, right? You guys are a successful city, but you have such a big wealth, poverty, inequality gap. Well, basically, this city is America, right? It's chocolate, but it's just chocolate America. America is the greatest republic on earth for a kid who grew up poor and wants to one day become a millionaire or potential billionaire and affect the community and the world around him. It's very difficult to do that in other places. You can do that in your lifetime in America if you don't have kids early, if you work after high school, if you make sure you get your trade or college degree. There are certain things you can do to make sure over the long term, financially, you're okay. Atlanta's the same way. But Atlanta could potentially outpace and outprogress and be a leader to show the country how to deal with things like homelessness, poverty, wealth inequality. We could teach people about fair living inside the city, but we have to dedicate ourselves to it now. So what I would say is get involved with local politics, get involved with local politics, get involved with local politics. Start to push the line on your city council people, push the line on your school boards, push the line on your mayor's office, and along with pushing the line on them, set aside some corporate expectations. If you're going to these neighborhood meetings, you should not only be arguing over where the fucking bike lane goes. You should be saying, if a McDonald's comes here, we're going to require as a community these things happen because we would like for you guys to stay in good standing with our community. If a Walmart is going to plop a Walmart here, then these are the things that we expect for you to reciprocate with the community that's spending money. So as a young millennial, just graduated Emory with an MBA, I say start organizing locally, organizing locally, organizing locally, come up with out-of-the-box ideas, push the line, push the line, push the line.
Amazing.
Zach, did you want to add anything?
Go for it. Next question.
Okay. So this is from Joy for both of you. If you have an idea for a business or product, what's the best way to protect your idea while looking for mentors, getting business experience, and the money needed to succeed? So how do you keep people from...
You've been far more successful at me than that.
No. I mean, I think
all I can say was trademark.
I think the biggest thing is just to get it going and get people using it, and the momentum just takes over. And I think the most important thing for me always is to get the thing out of my head and start work on it and show other people, because other people make the idea better. And you see what resonates and what doesn't resonate. And eventually the momentum just takes over, and you continue to build, you continue to iterate, and you continue to push. And you just learn so much, but you're always going to be at a disadvantage if you stop and think about these protections that you can create, or you make excuses for yourself in your head as to why not to do this, why not to do that. You gotta get it out, you gotta see it, you gotta feel it, and most importantly, you have to let other people feel it as well and take that risk.
I concur.
Okay, our next question is from Near for both of you. How do you define what is net worthwhile in your life?
Well, what was net worthwhile 20 years ago is not net worthwhile now. You know, 20 years ago, I wanted money and houses and cars and women, and then you get all that and you're like, man, this shit empty as an empty box. And then you lose it and you're like, oh shit, I got nothing. And then you get it back and you gain an appreciation for your connection with loved ones, for your connection with the community, for your real and true connection with yourself and whatever grand thing put us here. And I started to understand that making money for me is a byproduct of me being happy. Money does not make me happy. Taking care of those that surround me in a noble way, like I was taught by my grandparents, makes me happy, and I have to make money to do that, so I do the best possible job I can do at making money. I do the best and most integrity-filled thing I can do to make sure my businesses run right, but it's really just to make my wife happy, and it's really just to make sure that my children learn that hard work can produce results if you want them to happen. It's really just to help another kid who grew up in this neighborhood, just like me on the west side, that help him see or her see that there are no ceilings. And you know, if you know, and damn, this sounds corny. I used to hate to hear people say this shit. If you work to be happy, if you work for your passions, and you're like, nigga, I'm broke. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta eat. Y'all can laugh at that. I'm starving, but I'm happy when I'm rapping. So figuring out business for me was about, if I know I can run business, I know I can keep rapping, I know I'll be happy, I know I'll repeat said process. So, you know, let your happiness be in the work. A friend of mine, Bear, tells me, joy comes from discipline, joy produces discipline, discipline produces joy. So the more disciplined I am in growing my business and bettering myself, the more joy I'm filled with, and the more it makes me want to self-discipline myself to create that joy and happiness over again. For me, that's it. That's what it was.
Now for me, Mike touched on a bunch of these, but it's all about just finding teachers, and finding teachers through experiences, finding teachers through people, through colleagues, through coworkers, through challenges, and then the sense of gratitude. Like, it's just so powerful, and so powerful to express it to oneself. I mean, I have a similar practice where every night I'm just writing down what I'm grateful for, and it really puts things in perspective. And it's really it shows momentum. It shows this amazing sense of progress, and you need that for that self-confidence to continue and push and push and push, and to look for more and more teachers and more opportunities to learn.
Thank you. So our next question is from Shranti, who is actually sitting next to me, and this is directed at Mike. So you supported the Bank Black movement early on and encouraged folks to move their money into Black financial institutions. So can you share more about the power of being able to circulate wealth in cooperative entities?
Would I share more?
Like, tell more about the benefit of being able to share wealth in a cooperative or banking Black.
All right, so this is the deal. Atlanta's a perfect example of this to me. When the Black ecosystem economically is strong, the greater ecosystem is strong, right? Capitalism, competition provides the consumer with more options, right? So if you got a hotel, a friend of mine came down from New York, and I said, where are you staying? And he said, in the Castleberry district, right behind Pascal's. And I was like, what? You staying on the west side? This is a white Jewish guy. I was like, you staying? He was like, yeah, man, they had better rates than anybody else around, and the hotel's great. And it hit me in that moment. He didn't care that it was black owned. I cared that it was black owned. It mattered to me. It brought money and prosperity to my district. It helped keep people employed there. It helps feed mothers and children. But for him, he was just looking for the best deal. So outside in the greater community, as the black community, when we engage in good business, we are helping the greater community. And the greater community needs to understand that bank black, buy black, all that does not exclude anyone. I want you to bank with Citizens Trust Bank because they're going to give you a better rate, a better mortgage rate than the big banks. If you're a person that's repairing your credit, they created a card just to help you walk through a year of repairing your credit so you can be a better customer for them and you can start to qualify for things like car and home and small business loans. That's not going to happen at big banks, not in the same way. As a result of the bank black movement that me, T.I., Rah, Young Thug, Trinidad James, so many Atlanta rappers came out and supported that. The very next 2-3 months, Wells Fargo came out with a $60 million plan allocated specifically for black mortgages. Not minority, not people of color, not distressed communities, BLACK, black mortgages. That's the power of your economic ecosystem. And it doesn't only help black people, it helps the greater community every time we do this. So for the black community to start to fortify themselves in their dollar and keep that dollar in the community a little over 6 hours, a little over 2 days, a little over 1 week, 2 weeks. You make the greater community better because you add competition to said capitalism. So I'm a firm believer that compassionate capitalism can be practiced. I'm a firm believer that communities of like-minded people who look alike or think alike or just are alike should be circulating their dollars in that small community for a longer time. And I'm a bigger supporter of the greater community supporting said things. So not only do I want you eating that local green, I want you to come to the Blue Flame, I want you to bank with Citizens Trust Bank. I want your dollar to come in this community, and I want it to be a helpful and resourceful thing to you. So I want you using True detergent. I want you eating that slutty vegan. I want you to spend your dollars on the West Side because the more we exchange that dollar between the greater community, the more Atlanta's going to grow in a positive way, I believe, from a capitalistic standpoint.
Thank you. So here's the last question. Thank you. Give them applause. All right. This is from Asia for both of you. If you had to choose the single most important skill or concept to master in order to support economic empowerment, what would that be?
For me, recognizing who can really do the job. The greatest skill I've had is recognizing that other people are more skilled than me. And like he was saying, I really believe, I don't know it all. I have a good idea, but like you say, other people come in enhance and make that idea better. That's my thing. I had a great idea in a barbershop, but I didn't really understand full customer service until I met Natalie, Queen, at our flagship store. She was Paul Mitchell trained. She knew how to make customers feel good, and that became a standard in my shop because of her. I knew what dope art looked like on the wall, so I could make a shop look cool, but customer service is something I learned in terms of what makes a customer feel. I learned that from her. So when it came to contractors, I listened to the contractors that were honest, that did what they said, and I rehired them. So for me, it's about willing to be a student always. I just want to be a student in the room. I want to learn because I want to take what I learned back and just like I did in elementary school, run back and tell my friends to say, this is what we got to do. This is how we can cut yards faster. You bring your lawnmower, you cut the back, I cut the front, and that way we're going to make $40, we'll split that, and we'll cut 4 yards in a day instead of 2. So that's what I'm about. I'm about learning from the people I'm working around. I wouldn't know the Atlanta art scene or marketing or things like that if I wasn't listening to millennials. Those kids are the kids who are teaching me how to use the internet. If it weren't from Smiley from Daily Pursuit, I wouldn't have never been on MySpace. She's put me on everything I've ever been on. There was Facebook, MySpace, Twitter. I remember her calling me bro, you got to get on this Twitter thing. I'm like, what? Girl, that's self-snitching. I ain't getting on that. And the next thing you know, it's one of the tools that we use to blow us up as a shop and then later Instagram. So, I listen, I learn, and I'm forever trying to be a student.
Yeah, I think this sense and this discipline of constant self-improvement is so important, and I realized it pretty late in life. But first it's just identifying that skill that you do want to master, and then just being laser focused and having this discipline to constantly self-improve every single day. But if there's one like fundamental that has served me the best, it's just the power of being able to ask really great questions. And the most fundamental question that I found to be the greatest tool for myself is the question why. It's just it's simple 3 letters, just a question why. And a lot of people ask that question, they get an answer, and they go one level deeper, which is why, and they end up at some sort of answer around authority. Well, that's the way it is, that's what the government wants, those are the rules, that's what God made. And the people with the courage to go a level deeper and ask another why, and then are comfortable enough to say, I don't know. That I don't know is an invite to do the work to figure out why you don't know it. And on the other side of that door is something that will resonate with a huge amount of people. So this just very, very simple question of why, and going as deep as you can, and being comfortable with not knowing, and being able to do the work to actually understand why you don't know and get to that deeper level. Those are the things that transform. Those are the things that really get to the root causes and what binds us all together. So those 3 simple letters have been so powerful in my life and so hard to do, but like it is all about asking the right questions. It's about decomposing the problem into smaller parts and really being critical with your thinking. Train yourself to think in a much stronger and more rigorous way to get to better answers that are solutions that are going to resonate with folks around the world.
Okay, please give them a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You guys for answering these questions here today. Please stick around, visit our stations in the back, get information about Self-Made, and thank you, Mike and Jack. Thank you all for being here. Thank you.